The United States is fighting to keep the job details of government employee Anne Sacoolas under wraps. She was charged with killing a British teen while stationed in the UK and cited diplomatic immunity to avoid facing charges. Sacoolas was accused of killing 19-year-old Harry Dunn in a car accident near the Royal Air Force Croughton airbase in Northamptonshire in August 2019 and was subsequently charged with causing death by reckless driving. The 43-year-old woman who, along with her husband, was working for the US government at the time, went on to cite diplomatic immunity, however, and returned to the US. Details of her work are now being protected by the US government. According to reports, US government lawyers have proposed a protective order in response to Dunn's parents filing a damages claim against Sacoolas and are attempting to hide the details of her work for national security reasons. Although the defendants were employees of the United States government at the time, the lawyers declared, information concerning the United States government has little to no relevance to an adjudication of any remaining issues in this case. They added that the United States seeks protection due to the impact the disclosure of information regarding the government in this litigation could reasonably be expected to have on national security. Rat Seeger, a spokesman for the Dunn family, said the proposed protective order would be resisted strenuously, and accused Sacoolas and her husband of bringing in the US government to help them minimize what happened to Harry on the night he died, in an attempt to prevent both the family and public at large from knowing the full truth. In December 2019, Sacoolas' lawyer Amy Jeffries said her client would not return voluntarily to the United Kingdom to face a potential jail sentence for what was a terrible but unintentional accident. Despite claiming Sacoolas was devastated by this tragic accident and that she sends her deepest condolences to the family, Jeffries argued that, since Dunn's death was the result of an accident, a criminal prosecution with a potential penalty of 14 years imprisonment is simply not a proportionate response. In February, following the news that Sacoolas and her husband may have been working as spies at the time of the car accident, Seeger called on UK Secretary of State Dominic Raab to come forward and explain what he knew about Mrs. Sacoolas' employment status and when he found out about it. The fact that the woman behind the crash that killed British teen Harry Dunn may be a US spy raises a lot of questions for the government in a case already doing terrible damage to bilateral ties, the family's lawyer said. The news that Harry Dunn's suspected killer, Anne Sacoolas, was working for a US intelligence agency became an astonishing revelation for the victim's side. Rat Seeger, the Dunn family lawyer, confessed. We were completely taken aback by it. I have to say it really unsettled the parents, who continue to suffer every single day with all this stress, anxiety and uncertainty. A Virginia court, which was considering Sacoolas' application to dismiss a civil claim for damages by the Dunn family, was told on Wednesday that she had been employed by an intelligence agency in the US at the time of the fatal road accident in August 2019. The American's car was on the wrong side of the road when it collided with the 19-year-old's motorbike outside a US military base in Northamptonshire, where her husband worked as a CIA operative. The woman's barrister insisted that her job was especially a factor in her leaving the UK on diplomatic immunity grounds shortly after Dunn's death. Sacoolas didn't believe she would get a fair trial in Britain because of the media attention the case would have inevitably generated, he added. A Virginia court, which was considering Sacoolas' application to dismiss a civil claim for damages by the Dunn family, was told on Wednesday that she had been employed by an intelligence agency in the US at the time of the fatal road accident in August 2019. The American's car was on the wrong side of the road when it collided with the 19-year-old's motorbike outside a US military base in Northamptonshire, where her husband worked as a CIA operative. After the uncovering of those new facts, we've got questions that need to be answered. UK Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab must come forward and explain what he knew about Mrs. Sacoolas' employment status and when he found out about it, Seeger said. Raab had met with Harry Dunn's parents in January 2020, and when they directly asked him about Sacoolas' occupation he answered that she used to be a State Department employee, he recalled. We're hopeful that the government will step forward and give us those answers as soon as possible, the lawyer explained, as this data could affect Sacoolas' claim to diplomatic immunity. However, Seeger said that he understood that even if the American's diplomatic immunity turns out to be invalid, it wouldn't necessarily lead to her facing trial at a UK court on charges of causing death by dangerous driving. Extradition is always a political decision, rather than a legal one. If a US simply refused to extradite her, there's nothing anybody can do, said Seeger. The UK Home Office addressed the US on Sacoolas' extradition a year ago, but a request was denied by Mike Pompeo, the then Secretary of State under President Donald Trump. The new administration of President Joe Biden announced last week that it wasn't going to change the decision. CITE blasted Washington's behavior as a gross abuse of the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations. Diplomatic immunity should be used to protect diplomats in hotspots from actual danger, but not shield them from prosecution for crimes committed on the territory of friendly nations, he argued. This is not how America should behave. It claims to be the leader of the free world. We should all follow their model. They often criticize the rest of us for breaching human rights or doing things that they don't like. Well, the whole world is watching them behave in this case exactly as we wouldn't expect, he added. The White House obstructing justice for Harry Dunn does a terrible damage to the interests of the US here in this country and is absolutely eroding the special relationship between Washington and London, the lawyer stressed. But since the US authorities are reluctant to cooperate, the remaining option would be for Sacoolas to make the moral choice on returning to Britain on her own, CITE suggested. I would simply ask her or her representatives to get in touch with the British authorities and to find a way forward, CITE said. He suggested that the woman could also be suffering in the aftermath of the fatal crash and that a trial in Britain could be her path to redemption. We don't get to kill people and walk away, the lawyer said. He added that Sacoolas shouldn't be afraid of biased treatment in the UK, arguing that the country has one of the fairest legal systems and, when it comes to sentencing, it's not as draconian as in America. The US, both under former President Donald Trump and President Joe Biden, has repeatedly refused to extradite Sacoolas to the UK to face charges. Here is Anne Sacoolas pictured driving her kids in America after refusing to face justice for Harry Dunn's death.